Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming along and apologies for starting quite late. So today we'll be looking at sesame, which I think is a crop that's growing a lot of traction in Zimbabwe. We're very happy to have artists here and WFP AMA. So we'll be sort of doing a 360-degree look at the crop from agronomy through to marketing. So without delaying any more, perhaps artist representative would come up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Something like Michael was very requested to say it about myself. My name is Blessing Nekati from the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development. I'm with the Agricultural and Rural Development Advisory Services Directorate in the Training Department. I'm an agricultural economy by training, but practicing at the moment as an extensionist. Hope that will be enough to know about myself. Married to 4 kids, expecting more. Thank you. Fine. I think I'll be looking basically at the Sesame value chain in Zimbabwe, and this value chain I'll dwell much on production trends, the challenges being faced in the value chain, and the probable opportunities that are available. And at the same time, I will dwell a little bit into the collaborations that we are doing with our partners, in particular with WFP. So we may start. Okay. Fine. So Sesame value chain in Zimbabwe is of paramount importance in the sense that it contributes immensely or very much towards the food security. It also plays a vital role as a very nutritious and nutritious food source in the country. It also contributes very much towards the income generation. Just in other places that we meet, a kg of sesame would go for $1 on a parallel market or so, which is quite lucrative. So our farmers in rural areas, so they will also be will be able to see or to make money out of sesame value chain. So their incomes will be improved. And then sesame, it was got wild adaptations, in terms of the climatic conditions in Zimbabwe. So it adapts in varying climatic conditions that makes it suitable in all other or in most of the regions within the Zimbabwe. So this crop is actually emerged as a high potential crop for smallholder farmers. Taking advantage of its adaptability to various conditions. So it means our farmers can also do, since it thrives in various climatic conditions, it is very much suitable in all regions. Sesame requires or needs low inputs. That's in terms of when you want to grow it. So it requires very little inputs. That also includes not much rainfall as well. So it makes it easier or cheaper or a more profitable, lucrative value chain for our smallholder farmers. Sesame, again, it can actually enhance livelihoods for our rural people, and especially in the marginal lands, you shall see in terms of how it is geographically distributed in the country. It also has some socio-economic benefits that we realize. Most of it, employment creation, for instance. We also talk about the income diversification, it being so highly adaptable to or tolerant to droughts. it means it improves the basket of, or increase the basket of the farmers that they have in terms of their income. So it becomes one of the sources that is likely, or which has more chances of doing well, even in hard conditions. Because it's an upcoming crop, a bit, let me say, neglected, or no one in the main people would want to do it. So it means women and youth can also do it without conflicting interests with probably the household head or other people. So in terms of empowering women, we see sesame as a potential crop that would empower women and youth economically. So because sesame has not been very much or of the interest in the past, we, in terms of production, yes, we acknowledge in terms of production, it has been grown since some time in Zimbabwe. But for it to be of interest to the nation, I think statistics and everything, most of them were recently started to be collected through probably FAO as well as the Ministry of Agriculture. So these trends that I'll be showing, so these trends, and again, yeah. So these trends that I'll be showing, they are from 2020 to 2025 to date, but it does not necessarily mean that sesame was not being grown before 2020 in Zimbabwe. It has been grown, but it was not being, the data was not being collected about it. So in terms of production, the first one, the bar chart is indicating the area in production. The blue one will be showing in terms of the area. So the highest area that we've reached so far, that we've recorded, was around 62,000 hectares in the country. So that was achieved in 2025. This is this year. But of what some is the production that is slightly above 20,000 metric tons. So in 2024, it was an El Nino year. You can see the area and the production, the trends were very, very minimum, far less than even 5,000. So this has been the trend since 2020. So in the other graph, they showing the yield levels. Ladies and gentlemen, it's actually pathetic that the yield levels that we've achieved so far have never reached to a ton, 1,000 kgs per hectare. We never met that. The highest that we had, it was slightly above 0.6 of a ton, which is about 600 kgs. Probably this is due to how sesame is being grown. It is grown as a naturally, most farmers do not put fertilizers. There's no clean seeds, as you shall see in the following slides. Next slide, sir. So sesame cultivation in the regions, it has been spread mainly in the northern and central districts with the ideal climate and soil conditions that has been happening. So the climatic and soil conditions in these areas create favorable environments for high production of sesame, but according to the standards, but not as expected. Next slide. So this table there is showing the provinces and districts where sesame is predominantly grown in Zimbabwe. So we have in my central, we have about 4 districts that predominantly grow sesame. That's in the northern and in the Zambezi Valley. That's Rushinga, Mount Darwin, Muzarabani, and Mbire. So these are the main areas where in my central. And in Marsh West, some sesame is being grown there, but very low areas, and predominantly we consider it not to be a sesame growing area because of the area of the head trade and so on, but there are some sesame being grown there. Midlands, which covers most of the central districts that we've been talking about, it's a sesame growing province. The Gokwe is Gokwe North and South. Mberengwa and Shamane, these are the major sesame producing districts in Midlands. And then move on to Mart North. Mart North, we have two predominantly areas that are districts that normally grow sesame. That's Mkai and Binga. And we also consider it as a province where sesame is not mainly grown. We have in Manicaland, yeah, it's a sesame growing province, especially in Chipinge, Chimanimani, Nyanga, and Uyera, those districts. We also have some other NGOs who are also supporting sesame in those areas currently. Then in Mashingo, it's also a sesame growing area, mainly in Mwenezi, Chirezi, and Zaka. These are the major growing ones. And in Marsh East, in UMP, Uzumba, Maramba, Fungwe, Murewa, Toko, and Mutsi. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the major sesame growing districts that we have in the country. Now, I'm not saying that those that are not mentioned, you do not see sesame there. You may see it, people growing it, but these are the major ones that are worth mentioning in this forum. Next slide. So, from all that we've been saying in terms of farmer participation, ladies and gentlemen, sesame production in Zimbabwe is predominantly done or grown by smallholder farmers. Very few, if not none, commercial farmers who grow sesame that we know. But all those districts where I've been referring to, you see smallholder farmers, especially in the typology of the communal sector farmers. Those are the ones that normally grow sesame. So we move on to the next slide. So on this section that we are following, I'm going mainly to be facing on the major challenges. The challenges that we'll be discussing will not be the only ones, but these are some of the major challenges that we have in terms of sesame production. Next slide. So ideally, there is limited access to quality inputs. In this case, we are referring to clean certified seed in the country. So we normally, our farmers in the district areas where we are, we actually from farmer to farmer, that's where they get most of their seed. If not some that could be, a few could import, but the majority they get their seed from other farmers. So the clean seed is a challenge. Like I've said, in other crops, they've got the fertilizers or the basals, the top dressing fertilizers that are tailor-made to suit the nutrient requirements of that particular crop. So for sesame, at the present moment, we do not have. But efforts are being made through other guys that the people have now, our research department, R&D department, they've started collecting the germplasm for the sesame so that they will start to multiply and produce clean seed within the country. Ladies and gentlemen, like I've alluded before, sesame production, there are a lot of poor agronomic practices because it's grown, they let it grow naturally. They normally don't put no clean seed. In terms of fertilizer, they don't put fertilizer, most of the bulk of them. Yes, some do, but most of them do not put fertilizer. In terms of disease control, in terms of pest and etc. Or other things that you deem, at the agronomic, that are good agronomic practice that would actually improve the yield or production of sesame. So also have the challenges that are related to climate-induced risks, ladies and gentlemen, like any other crops. Yeah, the issue of drought we have seen from the production trends in 2024. We also have, next slide, also have issues to do with aggregation and post-harvest handling. So there's a deficiency in terms of aggregation points for sesame production. Even though we talk in those districts that grow sesame, there's little is being done in terms of aggregation so that you can have it in bulk, in quantities. And at the same time, it's post-harvest handling. There are some issues. Quite a number of improper post-harvest handling of sesame that are leading to poor seed quality, and they also affect the market for those that wanted them to affect the quality as well as the value, even locally and internationally. So that also affects. Next slide. Yeah. We also have limited market information in terms of sesame. Our farmers, bulk of them, except in those areas where there are some intervention of other NGOs, and as I know some NGOs in Chirezi, if not so, we've heard that they are buying sesame, exporting it, and doing it. But it's not all known and it's not accessible to everyone else within the country. So there are also weak value chain linkages within the country. We think we need to strengthen so that it becomes important. And as well, access to high value buyers. A few that are buying, the access to them is quite limited to the most of the people. But looking at the global demand for sesame and Zimbabwe's export capacity, ladies and gentlemen, you see that globally there is rising demand of sesame, and in Zimbabwe we have a production advantage because of the conducive or suitable climatic conditions that would allow sesame to do well. So that's where I think it's also another opportunity there where we can actually make use of that, and we can move on. So having this background, you'd see that it would be very important to integrate sesame into the existing food systems or into the existing farming systems of Zimbabwe so that we upscale it and what. We will take advantage of the three main advantages of sesame, it being drought tolerant. So, it means in most areas of Zimbabwe, it can thrive well, and in same arid in our region, 3, 4, 5 sesame can do well. Then the economic opportunities that are there, we'll be looking basically that if we integrate sesame, it means our farmers will basically improve their income by accessing local international markets for sesame, and thus would mainly support our rural livelihoods. So that would also help. And then we can see that sesame can also improve soil fertility. If we include it in the cropping plan, in the rotation, it also improves the soil fertility. Yeah. So in this section now, we'll be basically dwelling much on the collaborative work that ADAS has been doing with WFP, basically looking at the joint effort that is being done in terms of staff and farmer training and capacity building, that we've been doing the input support that we may be having, and other issues like the pilot initiatives that we have demonstrated positive impact. So the existing collaboration here, it includes capacity building of the agri-techs or other staff and farmers. In this case, focused trainings were being done to the extension staff so that they are able or they are improved in terms of skills for delivering training and agricultural programs to farmers. And at the same time, farmers through their community facilitators, they were also gaining expertise to provide farmer-to-farmer support and guidance to other fellow farmers. So this is basically what we've been doing. So the joint effort in farmer training led to active participation by farmers that were engaging in hands-on trainings, sessions, enhancing their expertise in sesame farming. There were some practical demonstrations as well that helped farmers learn effective sesame cultivation methods in a practical setup, not in a classroom setup or doing it themselves. Also now skills and confidence building as well. So this training or these for our joint trainings, they also build much of the farmers' confidence and they improve their skills leading to better yields if you compare to them, though they are still low in the undesirable levels compared to the potential, but they were better than what they were doing before. So the next tire was on provision of seed. I think WFP tried by all means to come up with locally seed that is more viable and better, cleaner than what they will be doing from farmer to farmer. But it was better that was supported in the inputs as well, especially in the project districts. So that helped to support the farmers with clean seed as well as some fertilizers for that, among others. So, ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabwe's sesame sector holds significant potential. Number one, to enhance food security. Number two, to enhance rural livelihoods and to improve economic resilience. But we've certain a lot of challenges that we've mentioned. But despite those challenges, growth opportunities are substantial. With rising global demands that we have alluded to, again with favorable agroecological conditions and the ongoing capacity building initiatives that are being done, such as training programs and improved seed supply or input supply, the sesame value chain is poised for expansion. It can be expanded, it can be scaled up, we can actually scale up. But however, we thought that there's some strategic investments in aggregation, post-handling, as well as market access will then empower smallholder farmers, who also strengthen the value chain integration, and this will position Zimbabwe as a competitive player in the global sesame market. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all I had. Thank you.
Question for Chris. Lots of questions for Chris. No. Okay. So at the back.
Thank you. Thank you for the very good presentation, sir, on Sesame. Just 3 questions of understanding. First question related to the source of the inputs. What was the source of the inputs? And related to that question, the seed value chain, was it developed, or it was just linking farmers with the improved inputs as a one-stop package? And then the second one, you refer that it contributes to food security. I'm still beginning to understand that. How is it contributing to food security? And related to that, maybe the nutritional aspects of sesame, if you could talk to that as well, so to understand what are the nutritional benefits of sesame. And then the third question is related to the market. For farmers to obviously adopt practices, they need the market, the guaranteed market, both locally and abroad. Can you speak to the market for sesame? Is it there locally and externally? Where are the buyers, and is it necessary for a farmer to adopt to shift what they are doing from maize to sesame, or to allocate some part of their land to sesame? Thank you.
So before you respond, we'll get onto markets later, so
I wanted to please forgive me. I wanted to respond your question by question so that I don't miss some of it. So if you could ask the first one, then I would respond in brief, then the second one, then third one, so that I don't miss any of your questions. The first one was related to okay, fine. So the source of like I've said, the source of the inputs, basically, we do not, there is basically from farmer to farmer. Farmers give each other some inputs. But in terms of exactly where our partner, WFP, got the inputs from, probably they are here, they can actually assist in telling us where they source the inputs, which they gave to other farmers. If you are privileged, anyone from WFP, if he or she is here, can assist.
I think
Yeah, I think in your presentation, you already highlighted the issue of inputs as one of the main challenges. So far with the brief, we have using Sesame, and they are the one for training, grading, so that we invite them to see it's that basically we use paper, things in terms of varieties, different varieties of system.
Thank you. In relation to the development of the seed bank for sesame, I think I've alluded that the government, through our seed services, have started collecting sesame germplasm so that they start multiplying in fields. So it's something that is work under progress. I think UNDP is also in helping through GCF, helping in terms of building that seed industry for sesame. The next question says, so that I don't miss any of it.
Nutrition food security.
Oh, okay, fine. Directly in terms of nutrition, sesame is an oil seed. It produces oil. Traditionally, though not documented, sesame is, has been used for butter. It can be processed to butter. Sesame is also being used in confectionery in terms of the buns and what, but it is more of fats and oils plus a bit of more of protein to it, though it's value. But indirectly, because of its value, because of its whatever, if it's grown well and farmers that grow well, produce enough, they can sell, realize huge margins, which they can in turn use to secure some of the other issues. Remember, one can be food secure from own production or from, so along those lines, sesame has a potential of improving in terms of seed, or in terms of our food security.
Money in the bank is food security, isn't it?
Not in the back.
Is it on the in the pocket? Yeah, I know. I understand there are a lot of issues that are around food security, issues to do with access and what, but literally seeing that our smallholder farmers, was the current trend that is not recorded, is that farmers within Rushinga, Mandarwin, and in Zambezi Valley, they actually sell their sesame in Mozambique. So when they come, they get a minimum of $1 per kg. So they come with cheaper groceries, foodstuffs, and everything else all year. So in a way, you see that one will be able to, if he wants maize for what, he has the man to buy the maize and become food secure. So this is how we are looking at it. Yeah, it's just an example of maize, but yeah, that's it.
I think Regina, so far.
Yeah, the other one on market. So government have made some efforts to through Cotco so that it can actually be purchasing, providing a ready market for our sesame growers, so that we do not lose the Zimbabwean grown sesame to the neighboring countries.
How much will they pay per kg?
Offhand, I'm not so sure, but it was around 6 cents or 7. The last time the idea was noted.
Regina, I think you had a question. So when you ask a question, please just let him know who you are and where you're from, so then he knows.
Thank you.
So that was Wulasani from the Swiss University.
Thank you very much for the thing. My name is WHH. My question also goes into the direction of the market. I don't know whether we I would like to learn a bit more about processing in the country as well. Because it has been in the past a big problem that farmers were not really convinced to grow sesame because the prices were so low. They only sold the raw materials.
Okay. Basil, would you touch on processing?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can just hold it. Yeah. Okay, Rodney.
Maybe I'm not going to ask a question, but you're blessing. I'm a firm believer in sesame. Maybe some of the benefits is the low input requirement. You need about 3 to 5 kgs, depending on accuracy, to plant a hectare. So that's about $3 to $10 depending on the cost of seed. The seed is an OPV. Once you buy, the previous experience when we had a project in Goko, it's like groundnut seed. It's an OPV. You can put 10 planting. So farmers use more of the claim seed. So given that costs of investment, if we talk about the 600 kgs per hectare, the price of sesame, in my experience, you can't put a pre-planting price. It's determined by the international markets, how much is on the market, but it fluctuates between 40 cents to as high as $1. We implemented a project in Goko with WHH back. I think the highest we got from Goko was 800 tons, but with lots of side marketing. Any cotton company, anyone who deals with oil seeds, be it cotton, they have access to sesame markets. So we found side marketing to be very high. And guys from Mozambique came as far as Mozambique coming inside into Gokwe, Simchembo area, Binga. So
Because of the processing.
yeah.
There's a big
Mozambique.
right?
Yeah, but if you're going to sell to the confectionaries, I think the price can go up to $4 or $5. But the confectionaries, they use 50 kg to spread on the bread, and it's minor. But the big dream back then with the company that we were working with was to get to a certain minimum tonnages, and then they would invest in a processing plant. But we never got to that. So I think it was 6,000 metric tons annually. But we're a district-based project. I think if we had gone nationally, we could have achieved that. I think there's more opportunity if we could process it in country, but doing the gross margin, comparing the cost of investment of sesame compared to cotton, not saying that we should not grow cotton. Sesame is a deep taproot, drought tolerant, it can survive better than much of the crops. So I think those are some of the benefits.
Rodney, I have to stop you real tight. Lads,
No, just a few things more on sesame. Okay? One of the big advantages of sesame is an indigenous crop. So the country has probably been growing here for more than 2,000 years. Elephants don't eat it, buffaloes don't eat it. So it's an ideal crop in areas where communities are faced with a lot of human and wildlife conflict. Because the elephants don't touch it. Danchurch, sorry, I should introduce myself. My name is Matt from Danchurch. We are supporting more than 1,000 sesame farmers in the Zambezi Valley from Sarabania all the way down to Binga. We have noted, and I think your graph showing more hectarage, but lower yield on the hectares. I think that is a very concerning trend, and I think I've got an answer to why that is happening. We have a lot of farmers who are either contracted or who say that we grow cotton and get free input for cotton, who are using pesticides on sesame during flowering period. Yet we have very firm data from the southern US, where sesame is also extensively grown, that shows that if you spray during the flowering season, in other words, you kill the pollinators, the bees. Sesame is very well designed for bee pollination. It's got very high nectar yield, so it's a very good crop to have together with the agriculture. Your yields, because of dying bee populations, and we are now seeing in the media that the bee population is collapsing, and we are quite sure that it's because of sesame. So the farmers are spraying for leaf miners and aphids during flowering season of the crop. That kills the bees, but we have data showing that that will drop your yield with up to 33%. If you don't have those pollinators. Sesame can self-pollinate, but if it self-pollinates, yields are dropping significantly, up to a quarter or more. So given the low input requirements, both in terms of fertilizers. You know, the jury is still out, but there's a lot of arguments that say sesame has got nitrification provinces. It's not like legumes with nodes, but there are signs that show sesame are contributing to nitrification. It's not really explained yet why that is. You know, relatively low influence of pests on the plants, etc., etc. And sesame being very high value crops in certain Asian countries, but absolutely in North America and Europe. I think we need to take the organic route with sesame. This is the most promising crop in the country, according to my assessments, to take the organic route and get the organic farming right from this one end. Because pesticides will ruin production if not used extremely stringent. Yes, that was my 5 cents.
Thank you. So I think we'll stop the questions and ask Basil to come up. We've got quite a few presentations to go through. So thanks.
Again, Basil, will have to be a self-introduction. You're Basil from WFP, right?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Basil Garedondo. I work at the World Food Program in Harare.
Sure.
And I'm under the resilience unit. It's the but
No, one you did say, but it was a regional PowerPoint. Remember you took it from the one who was supposed to.
Yeah.
And what's up?
All right. So I'll present on behalf of my head. The presentation was supposed to be done by my head. Her name is Chika Ohashi. She's our head of resilience at WFP, but she did not make it. So I'll present the work we have done at WFP on the Sesame value chain.
So we should find it. Yes. So it's okay.
Yeah, Michael, next time I want to present as the minister, before the minister. Because we work closely together with the ministry, so his presentation, I think, covered most areas.
So if that's the case, just skip through the
Just
slides
get
where you
straight-
think there's duplication.
Yeah, I'll just get straight to what we are doing specifically as WFP, but I think you already explained the work we have done on the training component, especially for the ministry staff, the architect extension officers who are based in the wards where we are implementing the program. Next slide. So at WFP, we piloted Sesame value chain in 2022, 2023, 2024 agricultural season. And the pilot was done in Mwenezi and Chireti. And yes, we're working closely with the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development. And for WFP, the focus has been on organic sesame production. I think Matt has already explained why it's important to focus on organic sesame production. But for WFP as well, because we went into sesame after having identified the market in the international market. Specifically, there was interest in sesame, organic sesame from Japan, and they reached out to our office. We discussed. It was mainly through our Malawi office. We discussed and they highlighted what they expected, the quality of the sesame they required. Also building on the fact that sesame has been grown in Zimbabwe, like I think from more than 20 years back. If you go to Chipinge, they know it from way back. They know it as Mlinga, the local name. You say Sesame Taps, they tell you, what's that? They don't know that name. So we piloted in Chirezi and Mwenezi in a few words, and in that year we supported 2,932 smallholder farmers with inputs, the training component, focusing on organic production. And why organic? Because Japan, I think they tolerate a very small level of chemical residue. I think my friend from Japan here understands their market is a bit strict. And for that season, I can say maybe it was a success. Farmers managed to harvest. The average yields were around 0.4 metric tons per hectare. And from that season, we also managed to export to Japan, and it met the conditions for the Japanese, which was a good achievement, especially for a pilot program. Then based on that pilot, we managed to secure more funding, specifically from the Japan government, a 3-year grant that we are now implementing starting with the 2024-2025 season. And for this first season, we supported 7,844 farmers in 3 districts now. Mwenezi, Chirezi, where we piloted, and we added Rushinga district. For this season, the average yields, they were also around 0.4. Of course, in some cases, in Mwenezi, Chirezi, where we started, there were reports of farmers who achieved slightly higher average yields per hectare. The selling season just ended now, and from the reports we have, the partner we're working with and the company we're working with, South Africa, they managed to aggregate around 400 metric tons from these 3 districts. Of course, we're expecting more, but I think there was a lot of side marketing as well, especially to the Mozambican buyers. And going forward, our plan is to expand into Chipinge and Mount Darwin, where we are implementing the same grant now we received from the Japan government. And we plan to work with a total of 12,500 farmers for this season. Then we will upscale again to 14,500 farmers in the same districts for the 2026-2027 agricultural season. Yeah, so in terms of how we are working with a partner, Sustainable Agriculture Technology. They are the ones who are implementing the program on the ground. And this slide just explains our roles for WFP and also the partner who is implementing the program on the ground. So SAT, they are the ones responsible for working very closely with the Ministry of Lands to sensitize smallholder farmers, especially on the issues of organic production of sesame, guiding them on how to manage pests using, for example, washing powder or chill. Then also weeding, encouraging use of composting or manure instead of the state fertilizers. Then they also focus on training, post-harvest training. I think one other key challenge with sesame is very high post-harvest losses. So they also focus on this component, supporting the farmers with simple seeds they can use at household level to process their sesame as they harvest it. Then they also organize the aggregation points, organize the farmers so that they aggregate as groups at districts or what level. Then as WFP, our role is likely resource mobilization, unlocking funding from the different donors. For now, we only have that one grant, but yeah, there's potentially more that may come, focusing still on the sesame value chain. Then providing guidance during value chain analysis to identify the bottlenecks and opportunities for that value chain. Then we also have the role to coordinate with the various stakeholders that are involved in this value chain, especially within the government, and also linking with the private sector and the different authorities in the ministry, for example. Then as the WFP, we are also supporting I think one of the challenges that was highlighted as well is the issue to do with the aggregation point deficiency. So as WFP, we are also, under the program we are implementing in these 5 districts, we are also establishing aggregation points. We've constructed an aggregation in Rushinga, Then for some watts, we use 20-foot storage containers as aggregation points at watt level. That is. Yeah, so in terms of the support provided to the farmers, it's basically 1.5 kg of seed per farmer to plant 0.5 acres per each farm. Farmers are selected based on willingness, and also for WFP, the focus is on vulnerable smallholder communities, but they should have labor capacity to plant and maintain harvest sesame crop. Then they should also have a piece of land where they can at least plant the sesame. So the minimum we expect a farmer to plant is 0.5 hectares. But when we piloted, because they realized the benefits, farmers are actually growing larger areas now. I've already spoken on the yields. So in terms of the price, for the pilot year 2023-2024, the sesame was bought on average at farm gate 0.9, that's 90 cents to $1. That was 2023-2024. It was a very good price for the farmers there, all very, especially those who managed to produce large quantities. For this year, we saw a drop. The sesame was being bought at 70 cents, especially for the farmers we supported, it was 70 cents. For white sesame, then black sesame, it was 80 to 90 cents. So those are just some of the pictures from Mwenezi, where we reported, I think, where we got some high yields farmers that started the first pilot. So in terms of aggregation, we have an aggregation hub that was established by South Africa in Rutenga. I'm not sure if you have read about it, but I think it has been on the news quite a number of times. In South Africa, is some link with such as well. So they have a big aggregation center in Rutenga where they have cleaning and sorting machine within that aggregation hub. So for districts around Mwenezi, the aggregation point is now available in Rutenga. Then I think I've already spoken in terms of off-taking. We already have a Japanese company that is hugely interested in Zimbabwe sesame, but they only off-take if it's organic. If it's not organic, the container will be shipped back to Zimbabwe. That's the tricky part about the Japanese market. And they also had a ready buyer in Japan, Takei, Moto Yushi, and these two companies, they actually visited Mwenezi in 2023, just to meet with the farmers and give the farmers that confidence that the market is now readily available for sesame. So besides the big aggregation hub that is in Rutenga, established by South Africa, SWFP will also established this small aggregation hub you are seeing on the picture there. It's a 12 meter by 20 meter aggregation hub, specifically meant for aggregating sesame. And we also supported this site with 2 cleaning machines, 2 sesame cleaning machines. And for now, we have set up 5 storage containers in Rushinga, but as part of the 3-year program, we are working on with funding from Japan and working closely with the ministry. There are plans to set up more watt level based aggregation points in Chipinge, in Chirezi, and also to establish at least one other aggregation hub similar to the one that was established in Rushinga. This is just a clip from last year, 2024. So for that pilot phase, we had about 151 metric tons that were exported to Japan successfully, meeting their quality requirements, and about 60.5 was exported to Mozambique. So for this year, far from the product that we've harvested, about 220 metric tons have already been exported to South Africa and Mozambique as well. The tricky part may be just mention that most of the sesame that is bought by Mozambican buyers, or if we export to Mozambique, if they clean and grade it again in Mozambique, then it will not have Zimbabwean identity when exported. It will now be exported with Mozambican identity. So that's the tricky part with this value chain. And I think as Zimbabwe, we also want to make a name that we are also producing quality organic sesame. And if you mix with sesame from other countries like Mozambique or Tanzania, and it then reaches Japan, it doesn't meet the quality requirements. And that also may tarnish our image in the process. So that's one of the challenges that we also came across as we are working on this value chain, especially this year. That's my last slide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Basil. Oh, hot off the press. Who are you? Where are you from? And
Sandy Roberts. I run a seed company, but we don't do sesame. But I just wanted to find out about it was the Mozambicans who said that they are cleaning it to export it. My understanding is that the local market in Mozambique is so strong that that is the main consumption of the sesame. Is that not correct? Are they taking it and exporting like through ETG? There's the floating.
Yeah, so from our own understanding as well, they're exporting some sesame. Yeah, they may be having a strong market locally, but they were also exporting to Japan and other countries.
I can give a little bit on that one, right? So there's a quite large cleaning and processing plant in Beira. So the sesame is into very large extent smuggled across the border into Mozambique, down to the processing plant down in Beira, where after the majority of the market out of Beira is India, where you don't have a very big organic sesame market. Okay? So that is what is happening. It's interesting. You say $23.24, right? In Bire and the Lower Musarabane, sesame at the tail end of the sales season in 23-24 was being bought up by Mozambican smugglers for $2.80 a kilo. So side markets increase, of course, extremely tempting when you have those kind of prices. And even this year, it was double of what farms would be paid internally.
And unfortunately,
Thanks. I often feel in Zimbabwe we're sleeping. If Mozambicans can come all the way in, buy our product, transport it out, risk whatever to do it, and be paying at least double, I'd say there's something wrong in Zimbabwe. It would be very helpful to see some comparative models of production, because obviously when you go to a farmer's not just looking at what our good intentions are, he's comparing it with what he's already doing, like maize, sorghum and boilers and whatever. And it would be helpful to see some actual input costs and costs of production that we can compare with.
are those GMAs available? Are those margins for sesame?
Yeah, they were done. But before started supporting, those were done. It may not remember it often, but we have all that was done. Yes, we are preparing to launch the final phase.
Might they be available for circulation through methods?
Definitely. Yeah, that I will need to check with my office. Yes. But I think some of the documents, I think we shared some of the documents with they have some of the documents with them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think Alan took part of what I wanted to talk about, where I was just saying, if there is an incentive to take all the products to Mozambique, definitely there's something that we need to do in terms of market research and every analysis. Just to understand, if we are picking a $2.80, it means we'll be able to sell somewhere at a margin. Why are we not able to turn into that market business? Then the other contribution that I wanted to do at this was basic investment economics. Yes, I hear we are piloting, we are looking at the grant funding. But from what I'm hearing, this is a potential that can be easily commercialized. Why not bring in the potential incentives, input requirements, very low? I know people actually going to buy seed for tomatoes, potatoes, and produce that for commercial value. But maybe this low capital requirement, producing it, and people realize there's value. I think get this commercialized, they can attract commercial value. Traditional days open above the guidance of our products. Then the other part is also to link up to what Mas talked about in terms of your organic production and need to improve yields through pollination. I can attest to that. I think we also had a pilot next year, which is almost similar in 5 minutes of Sesame, and we would only improve your yields through actually bring in their hands into the field for that to improve the pollination process. And I was actually looking at an opportunity. I know I'm another value chain process, which can then be incorporated into these communities where system is being manifested, then bring in kind production and professional level. Again, low capital requirement, putting up the DIs, and then that can be processed. I just looking at questions.
Thank you. So, question.
Just comments about the marketing in Mozambique.
Yes.
I interacted with some of the farmers in some areas. They said sometimes those buyers bring in the fake sales. Or even they offer 1 kg $2. Actual amount was maybe 2 kg. So that needs to be considered because market price is market price. So usually the world going to decide how much it is. So if they are offering more than that, maybe something wrong. That is a just point. Yeah.
Thank you. This is short.
Yeah, that's quite short. No, it's just to Alan and Fortune's point. If we look at the export earning basket for Zimbabwe, it's gold and tobacco, but gold's doing well currently, but we know it's unsustainable. Precious metals fluctuate. Tobacco, we know the issues around the environment and what's happening in the tobacco industry. What excites me about Sesame is an easy way to get the smallholder farmers to contribute to the export earnings of the country. And I think this is a low-hanging fruit for the government to build on the relationship that is already between the Japanese and build onto that and to get our farmers to get onto that value chain and contribute to the export earnings.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Finally, and not least, AMA. It's not happening with marketing. We find the presentation it came this morning, so it'll be further down.
Okay, while this is looking up the presentation, I'll give a brief introduction. My name is Frank Simon from the Agricultural Marketing Authority. And also not forget to introduce the institution that I work for. Agricultural Marketing Authority is a parastatal. It's in the genus of lands, agriculture, fisheries, water, and rural development, with a broader mandate to regulate participation in the production, processing, and marketing of all agricultural products, save for the tobacco and pig value chains, because they are regulated under separate institutions like your TIMB and your PIEP. So I will not go much on other aspects that have been covered by previous presenters, as that's the unfortunate part of presenting at the last. But all I want to focus on for now is the policy and regulatory framework that regulates sesame production and marketing in Zimbabwe. The value chain is regulated by an instrument SI 140 of 2013, which is Grains and Oilseeds SI. This SI speaks to registration and compels growers, traders, processors, and merchants of sesame to be registered with the government of Zimbabwe through the Agricultural Marketing Authority. I think you can go to that slide. No, the slide with that heading. Yeah. That one. So in Zimbabwe, currently, sesame is produced under two models. One is self-finance, where farmers finance production of their crop on their own, and also under contract farming arrangements, where we've got contractors that are registered with AMA that finance farmers through provision of inputs and also extension services. In the previous season, that is 2024-25 production season, we had 14 contractors that were issued with buyer's licenses. Like I have alluded to earlier on, it is illegal under the provisions of SI 140 of 2013 to trade in sesame without a valid farmer certificate or license. So that is basically the framework surrounding sesame production and marketing in Zimbabwe. We can go to the next slide. In terms of foreign investors, under the framework that is currently available, they are also required to follow these steps. One, they should be registered with ZIDA, if valid, also registered with the Register of Companies, if valid tax clearance certificate, and also adhere to the phytosanitary requirements and also the RBZ CD1 Capital requirements. Then in terms of contracting, the contractors that we register, we require them to furnish the authority with the databases. These databases contain information of the farmers that they would have supported with inputs. They should also furnish the authority with proof of purchase of those inputs, so that we also ensure that we are not misguided, where contractors may in the end claim of having supported farmers whom they would not have issued inputs with. Then in terms of adherence to the minimum support package, I think we also expect the contractors to meet a defined input package that is spelled out at the onset of each production season by the technical committee in the Agricultural Marketing Authority. So I think this will also speak to the same, that is the licensing aspect. But in terms of the strategic vision of the government of Zimbabwe with regards to sesame, I think my colleague here has indicated that sesame is a low-hanging fruit, which harbors huge potential in terms of forex earnings. And I think in line with that, we've been mandated also to take full advantage of this potential in terms of designing a model that will accrue benefits to the farmers and also the economy at large. So you reckon that, like has been indicated by my previous speakers, that there's huge global demand for sesame from the Asian market, European market, and also the Middle East. So in terms of what we've seen, what we've recorded, apart from the challenges that have been referred to by other presenters or by the House in terms of side marketing and also smuggling of sesame into neighboring Mozambique, I think we've also recorded positives in terms of the systems that we've tried to put in place as AMA to curb side marketing and also smuggling. Because you'd reckon in the preceding season, that is 2024 marketing season, I think the sesame that was recorded in Zimbabwe to have passed through the formal channels was around 1 million kgs. But in 2025 season, we recorded intake of about above 3 million from the registered contractors that we had registered for this this previous season.
and that indicated, I think there was an improvement in terms of that intake of around 33%. So as we go to market development, we're in the process. We are working also closely with the Sesame contractors represented by the Zimbabwe Sesame Association to develop a model, a centralized model, buying like the one we've also put in place in the cotton value chain. Was you'd reckon that most of the challenges that we are facing is that the market that we have currently of sesame is not structured. You find motorbikes running around villages buying from the homesteads straight, or maybe also with the porous borders that we have along the main growing areas of sesame in the Zambezi Valley and also in the southeast Lowveld. It's not practically feasible to curbside marketing with the current marketing model that we have. So as government, we are trying to put in place a centralized common buying point model for sesame, where we then have designated buying points. I think this is something that we are trying to craft so that we can try and minimize these leakages that we are talking of currently. So I think in terms, like indicated, in terms of policing the smuggling, I think we have also engaged the security sector in the efforts to try and curb side marketing and smuggling. And we've also put in circulars to that effect, and also stiff penalties have been introduced for those that are caught not abiding by the regulations provided in this SI 140 of 2013. In terms of sesame pricing, I think we've had persons from various sectors in terms of how best we can also control this or fix or gazette prices. And our response to that has been, it's very difficult to fix a price for sesame because this is an internationally traded commodity, first. And also, because of the absence of this processing or value addition plants effective in Zimbabwe, this has led our buyers to also be price takers, because the bulk of or most of the crop that we have, sesame that we have, ends up in Mozambique. So the buyers, the local buyers, are also price takers the same way as the farmers are also price takers from the local buyers. So what we are trying to do now is to try and lure foreign investors and also engage seriously local finance institutions to also invest in market development locally. And we are also trying to engage those buyers in Mozambique to set up base locally so that they can also establish warehouses and also try and value add locally, then export probably cleaned or processed sesame. And I think with that, I think the farmers can then accrue direct benefits from the lucrative markets that I was talking to, those that are offered in the Middle East and also Asia. So I think with this, I normally say to most engagements that I have, that I've always tried in all presentations that I have made to try and make it like a miniskirt. Very short, but long enough to cover the essentials. Thank you.
Before you go.
All right. All right.
No, thank you so much for the presentation. Just two questions. The first one is, I'm not so much a huge fan of regulation, especially with Zimbabwe. The economy is getting informalized. When you talk about registration of companies, these guys who are dealing or who could potentially contract farmers, they are informal, they don't have this registration documents. Obviously, they won't comply with registration on AMA. So how are you taking care of the direction of the informalization of the economy? This is where we're going. And our economy, for effect, is now informal. Is there a sense of keeping on pushing that this is illegal, this is illegal? How do we embrace the small to medium enterprise to allow them to grow, given that 70% of our population is in rural areas? And if we're going to drive job creation, we need rural industrialization. That's number one. Number two is
You want to answer that
That's
first?
fine.
number two question is, does Sesame attract the export retention fee, the 30% from the RBZ?
Okay, thank you. I think on the first question with regards to regulation, I think absence of regulation or putting in these measures can also lead to huge losses to the economy. If I can be one for you on that one. But like what you are saying, what we have done is we've had two licensing facets. One for the large scale contractors, those are the big companies, and also for the same small scale. We did that in the year like 2024 is the marketing season, and we allowed a lot of these small players, individuals, as it were. I think companies, I think they are here also from the association, they can attest to this. We had several of these small scale buyers, as it were, without those requirements like your certificate of incorporation, your tax clearance and whatever. What we only wanted from them was your IT.
And the money.
And the money to register. But the money obviously was not the same as that for the big for the big companies. But guess what happened? It was a mess. In terms of trying to contain and to have a proper marketing model for Sesame, it was a mess. And what we then did for last year, I think I've showed you positives in terms of what we recorded, in terms of what we formally recorded as what was the intake for Sesame for last year, compared to the previous season. I think we had these improvements because of those measures that we put in place to say, no, for now, let's cut having these small fly-by-night, small-scale buyers. Because you know what these guys were doing? They were only agents of these Mozambican buyers. They were given money, come here and drive with their motorbikes, take the crop, and we got nothing. And apparently, those leakages are not beneficial to the economy, as it were, because they are not paying taxes. The government is not getting anything from the export process. And that was unfortunate for that one. Then coming to your RBZ at 70-30, I think it's also applying to the Sesame value chain. And I think we've had engagements with the Treasury, with the Minister of Finance, just like what is happening across all the other value chains. You know, it's not only limited to Sesame, it's across your tobacco, your horticulture, it's all there. But I think like the positives that are coming in from now, from the engagements that are there now, I think there's a deliberate ploy by also coming from His Excellency to say, no, we need to address some of these, they're calling them, what you call them? Impediments to growth, is it? So we are saying, I think there's a deliberate attempt to review some of these. One, not only the regulations, but also that mode of retention that is there at the RBZ. Yeah, exactly. Because to cut across all those facets, it's not only limited to the registration at AMA or the levies that are being paid, but also, like it's indicated, to that forex retention as well.
And, just the last one. This is just a pushback. When you talk about leakages in the economy, these are fees coming to AMA, but are you also considering that the money that is coming to the farmers is being spent in Zimbabwe? Those guys are spending in the agro dealers, they're spending in the formal shops, paying VAT and all the other taxes associated. I think in your calculation in the losses in the leakages, do a cost-benefit analysis with tax, AMA tax, and the other benefits that the economy is accruing.
Yeah, sure. But I think like what you are saying, that's why where we are headed. Say, what is the long-term solution to these problems? And the long-term solution is to have processing plants and value add so that farmers accrue all the benefits that can accrue from those lucrative markets. Because obviously these are temporary issues that we will be dealing with. But the broader picture is to say, how do we make our farmers more viable in the context of where the market is?
Alan, you had a question?
It was really coming just to reinforce that. I don't think you solve people as side marketing or going over the border by legislation, by rules, by border patrols. You solve it by making it so attractive. What's the point of going across? So I think you're completely aware. That's a journey to get there.
Yeah, sure.
Sandy?
So I just had a question to ask on registered contractors who registering with AMA. Do you always insist that they provide inputs? And what sort of level of inputs? Because the way you were talking about it wasn't just seed, you're expecting to fertilizers and everything. With what everyone has said about Sesame with a high level of site marketing, no private sector partner in their right mind will provide fertilizers because they're going to lose the money. So it's like, what is the level of stipulation? Can they just be registered as a buyer of Sesame, not necessarily as a contractor? And then the other thing is, what are you doing about the side marketing? I know you've said, you're going to clamp down, but AMA doesn't have a legion of army people out there, in the middle of the rural areas. So it's just like, for a contractor, for a buyer, it's extremely difficult, contractors specifically, to put inputs into the system that is just leaking.
So I think I will respond like this. For the entry point for contractors has been set. That has been the entry point for one to be recognized as a bona fide contractor. But there's also an option of one registering as a buyer or as a trader. You don't have any commitment to anyone. Just come during the marketing season and buy from those farmers who would have self-financed their production.
Sure. I think just one contribution I just wanted to look at is to look at the market. I think Japan is here and they are very clear they want organic and they want organic service. And yes, we talk fertilizers, I think we're becoming artificial, talk with maybe anything else as well. So what efforts, what incentives can we put in place for us to ensure, instead of getting fertilizer, maybe the cattle manure, goat manure that we get goes into Sesame and get the high value that we need to meet the network requirements of the market. For me, the moment you start commercializing in activity, you have to focus on the market. What is the market requirements? What are the specifics that are coming from the market? How I think we should spend ourselves as partners, as development partners, government, now focusing on this market that we have. The others, we realize they are not ours. I think they are more African markets. The only one that we have been able to is the Japanese market, which is coming. It's very clear what point they are requiring. Can we not try and focus?
I think this one should be for the house, isn't it?
No, I think
colleagues. Yeah, sure. For colleagues, I think something that we should bilaterally, after the session, engage seriously ourselves, colleagues from others, and also the Japanese themselves, because they are offering the market to really understand the requirements, what they expect from us, so that we can also take into that.
Maybe that's also something to learn and make a bit bigger in terms of what the Japanese market is asking for in terms of quality. I mean, there was a story about the blueberries which came back from the UK recently, because there were too many chemicals being rejected them, and we had this before. So maybe there is something to learn for the agricultural production in Zimbabwe altogether in terms of the use of chemicals and what is it doing. It cannot be sold, but also has consequences for our health, also for the Zimbabwean population. So maybe we need to have a bigger picture.
Matt, oh,
I'm sorry. Sorry for having the mic, guys. But just a reaction to Regina. I think you have a very, very important point there. I mean, sometimes we do agriculture here a little bit like we drive in the traffic. It's me, and instead of helping each other, everybody get home 15 minutes faster, and we delay each other and come home half an hour later. Yeah, and kill each other, whatever. Hey? For example, we have thousands and thousands of beehives out in India, which is now, and we try to do organic sesame there. There are other producers coming in, contractors, they're spraying at the wrong time, destroying it for the bee farmers. We have 500 women down there collecting natural fruits, wild harvested fruits for the international and for the cosmetic industry. That stuff is unsellable if pesticides and herbicides are drifting, which they do, okay, into the neighboring environment. Okay? So I think we really need assistance.
Exactly, we need to think in systems. We need to not only get the value.
Yeah, no, we need to think holistically. And we need to make strategies at the district level. How are we gonna utilize the land? What products are potential in here, and how are these products gonna be produced so that everything works in synergy, and that we can maximize the prices that we get as a nation, and that the farmers get at the bottom line for those products. And it is extremely important, and sesame is probably the most potential one. Growing sesame or doing anything organic next to our cotton farm is a nightmare. And we have huge potential for organic production in Sim. And those are the new markets. That is what is coming up. And Germany, I know Denmark, we don't want non-organic products any longer. I mean, you don't.
Organic cotton is a.
Yeah, even, yeah. And unfortunately, it's the same. We started with organic cotton about 20 years ago. And I think that we hit the industry too early and it failed. Had it been today, it would have been very, very successful. You go into a Danish supermarket, 60% of the products in the supermarkets is organic. We do not want non-organic products any longer. People are sick and tired of getting sick from what we are eating. Yeah, sick and tired of getting sick.
Okay. I think that's almost a wrap. I just got one burning question for Blessing. I really hate these average national figures for crop production. Like we hear 800 kilograms of maize per hectare is our average in Zimbabwe, but because it disguises areas of excellent production, and it's really pulled down by areas that shouldn't even be growing maize. So we've got this figure, I think it was around about 330 kilograms per hectare for sesame. But again, that's an average figure it disguises. Do we have areas where it really does well?
That stands for every cent.
Okay.
But what is a good yield? Like a 10 ton?
I mean, in our experience in Zimbabwe, it was 300, 400.
I think the highest farming in Trust.
Oh, okay, we're both in. All right. Anyway, thank you.
Black sesame, it's grows much better here, much shorter maturity time and higher price, higher market price.
Yeah, it's something to look into.
Yeah.
So I think that's
There is two types of the sesame. Sesame powder oil, that is much cheaper. But the sesame powder edible is a more higher price. So depending on which types of sesame you oil.
Oh, thank you.
In Zimbabwe case, I think you can grow the edible one, but now I think WFP is just handling for the oil, but they can change, and then that's increase the livelihood of the small business.
So we need the seeds.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for your attention. It's been a bit of a long afternoon. So thank you for staying. Just to announce our upcoming forums, we're back here on the 18th of this month. Where Seedco and Met Services